just love the drama.
Biggest U-turn since winter fuel allowance.
Cut that.
Because loose lips sink ships.
And what the fans want is to stop teams being owned by madmen.
Listen, you're really making a mess here. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. We're getting really cross with you.
The sticky patch came when the rest of the team's sticky patch came, which was sort of January onwards.
Grumble, boobs joke, hot ones.
No, let me tell you, I don't have to look at this objectively at all.
The Wednesday week!
Put on your podcast!
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week, a very special episode of the Wednesday Week. And normally at the top it would say a phrase such as my Wednesday, but we're going to go with your Wednesday because today Stevie and I are speaking to Kris Wigfield of Begbies Traynor, the administrators in charge of sorting out the quagmire that is Sheffield Wednesday. Kris, this must be your 17th interview this week, right?
Yeah, I seem to be doing 2 or 3 every day at the moment, so it's certainly hectic.
I've been doing this a long time, and YouTube was something we brought in about 4 or 5 years ago, and you get a bit self-conscious about your own face. Have you got there yet? You know, you kind of like constantly looking at yourself, going, "God, is that what I look like to other people?"
Well, when I was on Radio Sheffield on Friday night, afterwards when I got home, my son did say to me, he said that camera was at a terrible angle for you.
It would doing you no favours, Kris. It's Rob Stanton trying to make himself look good, mate. That's what it is. You know what I mean? Kris, I'm right in thinking you're a Wednesday fan, yes?
Yeah, so I've been a season ticket holder since 1984. So yeah, a big Wednesday fan.
Lord. Good Lord, you'll be up for parole soon, surely. I bet you'll be sick of seeing the place when all this is over, right?
Well, I think it's one of those that is a bit like a drug, isn't it? So whilst it's been a stressful few days, it's been quite an exciting one as well. So, but obviously we need to get out of there as soon as we can.
The company you're representing, this isn't their first rodeo in this type of field, is it?
No. So Begbies are the largest insolvency practitioners in the UK, and we've done quite a few football clubs. So I think Wigan was the last one. I think Southampton and partners of ours did the Bolton one, and the Sheffield office of Begbies, which is obviously what I head up, was acquired by Begbies, and they did Crystal Palace, Luton, and Plymouth. So we're pretty experienced, but well, we are the most experienced IPs, I think, when it comes to football clubs.
It does go to show just how many unscrupulous owners there are in football, given the 10, 15 that you've just rattled off there. You know what I mean? It really goes to show that there are some people that see football as an easy book, as it were. I'll tell you what. Let's Stevie, do you want to kick us off, and we'll get right into it. I don't want to take up a lot of Kris's time with my nonsense jokes.
Yeah, no worries. Just for those people that are watching and aren't sort of immersed in what the administration process is, could you just sort of give us a brief overview of what administration means for a football club and how you guys have got involved?
Yeah, so I suppose there's a few things to cover off there. So we effectively are running and controlling the company. So we are, in terms of day-to-day operations, I suppose, acting as owners. And our job as administrators is to rescue the company. So we need to run it, hopefully, until we find a buyer, which we think we can definitely do, as long as the process doesn't take longer than we're expecting, which it's shown no signs of that, and leave the business still running, but it'll be in a different limited company. So effectively, this limited company dies and a new limited company is formed, and the assets of this limited company, and in this instance Sheffield 3 Limited, which holds the ground, will be transferred to a new entity.
So the ground and the club are stuck together now. They're back together.
Yes. I mean, technically, somebody could make individual offers for each one, but why would they? I'd be amazed if that ended up being the situation. Yeah. Any new owner is obviously going to want the ground, even if they've got mega plans to build some fantastic new stadium. They're still going to want Hillsborough for the foreseeable future while that actually happens.
So that process Friday, obviously, as Wednesday fans, we get dead excited because it's happening. How long had you been sort of in the wings waiting to sort of come in on that Friday? Who instructed you, and what was the process, and what did Friday look like for you?
I suppose I'd been speaking to the Lender New Avenue projects for a few weeks, but really it was 2 weeks before we got appointed that Mr. Chansiri came to us. So that was the first conversation that I had with him, where they were basically evaluating the possibility of putting it into administration, and various financial information at that stage was sent to us. So in usual circumstances, I would have expected it to go into administration a couple of weeks quicker than what it did, but it took a while to get our ducks in a row to a point where Mr.
Because
Chansiri
he
was
who should not be named didn't want to sign the papers for about 2 or 3 weeks. Is that where it is?
2 weeks, I would say, yeah.
So yeah, but 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I can see an element of trying to be pragmatic. I can see an element of why he didn't want to sign the papers. He is financially in the hole, but there's also an element of that's your own making, pal. You know what I mean? That's your own bed lying, that one. That's why you are in the hole. And I appreciate you can't really comment on that. So I tell you what, let's move on. So have you had direct contact with Chansiri, or has he just gone off into the sunset now?
No, so I've not spoken to him at all actually since that initial call. So there was various communications between us and the club, but primarily they were done through lawyers.
Wow. So he did have somebody around him doing some work. That's actually interesting to know. I wish he'd have done that with the bloody football club. So I tell you what, why don't you tell us what does the administration team look like? Is it you and Paul just sat in an office screaming at each other, or are you have you got like a whole team of people on it?
Yeah, we've got a whole team of people on it. So we've got obviously myself, Paul, and Julian are the joint administrators. But at the ground at the moment is probably 10 to 12 staff from Begbies, and at various levels of seniority. But yeah, there's other insolvency practitioners who aren't named on the ticket, as we call it, but they're insolvency practitioners. They know what they're doing just as much as we do, and they're actually there in the background doing various stuff. So what we've had to do, I suppose, for the fans' benefit is there's a lot of stuff to look at. We've got to look at corporate, we've got to look at the tickets, we've got to look at the club shop. We're looking at whether there's any sponsorship opportunities that we can get money from. So we've basically, everybody's got within the team has got their own little area of responsibility that they're getting on with.
Their KPI, is that what they call it? Is that what they call it in 9 to 5 speak? Go on, Stevie.
So those the people that are behind the scenes and sort of looking at things, what major responsibilities do they have in terms of the keeping the club running, in terms of wages, in terms of making sure that we should be being satisfied, players, coaches, behind the scenes staff? Are they all being looked after? Are people concerned? What's the temperature like at Hillsborough at the moment?
At the moment, the staff seem enthused, to be honest. I think a lot of them are reacting in a way like the shackles have come off. So there's a lot of people there that are very smart. They've got great ideas within the commercial team, within the club shop. The guys who do all the media, they've got fantastic ideas, and now we're letting them get on with them and bring those ideas to us. We can't obviously do every idea that they do bring to us, but I've just had a meeting with the guy who's doing the corporate stuff, and he's got loads of ideas around sponsorship, different packages we can do. So he's going off this afternoon to give lots of former fans and customers a call and see if we can get them engaged again. So yeah, at the moment I think the mood is really good, and I think the mood is pretty good amongst the coaching staff and players at the moment as well.
So are you in a situation, sorry Dan, are you in a situation now where you can sort of approach potential sponsors and say, come in, this is something that we can do in the interim, or would you have to wait for that sort of buyer to come in and go from there?
No, as long as it's a sponsorship package that's available, there's no other contract in place, then we're looking to see what we can do to sell them till the end of the season.
And would that go on a a pro rata basis. So let's say a buyer comes in and wants to get his own sponsors in. Let's say he comes in at Christmas time and in January wants to get his own sponsors in. The contracts that you guys have got in would just run to the end of the season, or would they be go, right, that's null and void and they're going to get their own in that time if they want to fund it themselves, a lot like Chancery perceived to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's most of the contracts we sign will be to the end of the season. So a new owner won't effectively be able to undo that until the end of the season. But obviously, I think a new owner would understand that at the moment our priority is just making sure that for when that new owner is in place, that we've just got to make sure that the club is functioning and the players and staff have been paid, etc., which is obviously what we're trying to do.
So,
okay, so go on, Stevie.
So the message there then is, if you're a Wednesday fan and you own a business with sponsorship opportunities there, get yourself involved and you could help support, prop the club up. That sort of thing.
Very much so. And what we're going to be doing, which maybe the club's not being great at, is this stuff is going to be going all out on the website. So it will be clear what opportunities there are. Most of them will be very clear on what the pricing is. There'll be stuff like, for instance, we can have a sponsor on the back of the shirt, where there isn't a set price for that. It's more like who makes us the best offer. But all of this stuff will be communicated quite widely in the next day or two.
Brilliant.
Amazing. So I tell you what, Kris, what I wanted to do was I wanted to speak to Kris the man a little bit, because I appreciate you probably just like I've spoken about Dave Ponchensiri and Stevie and Ash and all the rest of the Wednesday week team, but a lot of the media guys that that we profess to be, we've been peddling the same speech across various platforms about the current state of the club and stuff like that, and I had the opportunity to put our personal spin on it. But like as a Wednesday fan, how are you feeling about the whole situation? I appreciate, you probably can't go two balls in. Don't get me wrong, yes. But let's try. I want to talk to Kris the Wednesday fan. Like, where, how are you about it all this?
Well, I think like most Wednesday fans, I don't think I'm saying anything that I shouldn't. It's been a frustrating few years, even probably going back to when we had a good team 7-8 years ago. There's a lot of things that I think have been frustrating. I think the communication has been poor. So, I've been in a situation where it's been frustrating, hasn't it? And we don't feel loved as a fan base. From my point of view, professional point of view, though, it's given us lots of easy wins straight away. But I think all Wednesday fans, I think, they want a club that engages with them, and we want a fighting chance on the pitch. I think it's absolutely ridiculous a club of our size hasn't been in the Premier League for 25 years, and only really a couple of times even got close. So, I think I'm probably a bit older than you two, but I just want it, to be like the 80s and 90s, where every time Man U came to Hillsborough or Liverpool came to Hillsborough, they knew they were going to have one heck of a battle if they were going to go away with 3 points.
I tell you what, that's heady days they seem, and there's probably going to be some younger people watching this going, "Wait, what? We used to beat Man U at Hillsborough." I promise, kids, it used to happen. Paulo Di Canio scored one of the worst overhead kicks you've ever seen in the 90s. I don't know how I did it. I don't know how that still went in. Raymond van der Hal dropped his backside on that one. So look, it's been well documented that it's payday on Friday, and given this and the other running costs at the club, and have the supporters spent enough money to cover that base?
Yeah, so we're hopeful that we're going to be able to pay the wages on Friday. There is enough cash. Without going into it in too much detail, the complication is just getting the cash into the bank account. So what happens is, obviously when customers, I'm saying customers like it's a business. When fans,
catch him there. He said it. Getting it lined up. String him up, kids.
so when fans come into the club shop to buy tickets, to buy merchandise, etc., most of them pay by card, not cash. So effectively, it goes through merchant facilities, and at the moment, we're just trying to negotiate getting that money a bit quicker than what we usually would, so that we've got that money in there to pay everybody. So, hopeful that we can pay everybody. it's looking optimistic at the moment.
Good Lord. Go on, Stevie.
I suppose I'm going to have to ask the difficult question, and I hope you don't mind, but this is October. Do we need to be worried about November, or are steps in place to sort of get us over the line there as well? Because I think that's the thing as a fan, as we all are here. Admin's happened. It's been instigated. It's kicked off. Things are great at the moment. The vibe on Saturday was fantastic. Listening to you speak on all the platforms that you have been absolutely brilliant. Is it something that's going to continue to grow and develop, or is it a short-term thing? And then we're going to need to sort of regroup come end of October, start November, ahead of November payday.
Yeah, so we've got obviously Norwich, Sheffield United, and I think the Preston game is in November as well. So we are hopeful that we can. We've got enough money to get through November as well. Between now and December, and obviously this is a bit of a finger in the air because we didn't know, and we still don't know exactly what ticket sales will be, what revenue we'll get in. We're projecting that there'd probably be, even if we got fans on board, that there might be about £1 million black hole to get through to the end of December. We have got a plan B though, because obviously we can't have a black hole. Begbies Traynor aren't personally going to put £1 million in. So there's basically a large payment that comes in from the EFL in January of about £2.5 million. And what we know that we can do is if we need to, we can effectively borrow funds against that. Now we're hoping that we won't need to, because obviously we would like the new owner to get the benefit of that. If we get to the stage where we've got a preferred bidder, what often happens in these scenarios as well is the preferred bidder actually puts some money up to enable us to trade until the deal actually completes, because in terms of them doing their due diligence, in terms of the EFL fit and proper test, that can take a number of weeks after the deal's effectively been agreed. But at that stage, usually they'll put some cash in to make sure that obviously they want the business that they're about to buy to be in as healthy a state as possible when they take over. So at the moment, we don't think we've got any issues to get us to sort of that time horizon. Where it will start to get difficult, but we hope we're not in this scenario. But if we are, we'll find a way to work around it. But we don't still want to be trading it in administration in March, and I know the fans don't either. But that's where it'll start to look a little bit more difficult from a cash flow point of view. I'll be very surprised if that happens though, with the level of interest we've got.
I was going to say, have we had some significant tyre kickers? Have we had some proper people coming in? Or have you had some people wasting your time?
We've had a lot of tyre kickers. We had our first formal offer from a Nigerian today, who the offer effectively was zero when you read it through. So you get a lot of that sort of stuff. But
in my head, Chris, I'm sorry, I know we're talking about serious things, but in my head, it was that guy from Phone Jacker, that George Adedekengo. There's a pigeon in your bank account. You know what I mean? That geezer.
It could be. And
proper offer, formal offer, and it turned out to be F all.
Yeah, basically they were going to. The proposal was that they could lower the wage bill further and trade at a break-even point. So anyway, you get stuff like that, and you get obviously what you get as well is you get football fans and Sheffield United fans that think it's a bit funny to put something in that's. But you're going to get that kind of banter in football, so it's just the kind of thing that we have to weed out. And then the other thing that supporters won't understand. Until now I explain it, we've got probably credible interested parties that have approached us and we don't yet know who they are, which sounds crazy, but what happens in this situation is interested parties usually don't contact you direct. So they will come through, for instance, a Big Four accountancy firm who will come to us, and because it's a Big Four accountancy firm, we're assuming that it's somebody credible. And they will say that we've got a client that's interested, and then what you have to do is everybody exchanges non-disclosure agreements, etc., etc. There's a screening process, and then effectively the identity of the person is revealed. So we only really started that process yesterday, being Monday. So it'll be probably the end of the week before we even know who all the parties who've actually already come forward are.
So with Snoop Dogg and Luka Modric being involved in a consortium that owns Swansea City, there could be somebody sat in the wings, and it could be somebody like Robbie Williams or Little Mix or something. But you know what I mean. You never know, do you? Like, that's interesting. That's quite fun. So I this seems like an obvious question to ask, but if I get back on track, how are the fans going to help? But I felt that's fairly self-explanatory, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we need them to be positive, and we need them. It's horrible to say, but we just need them to keep spending money. So what we will try and do is we will do our absolute utmost to make sure that the money that they spend, they're getting value for. As I think you've seen with what we put out yesterday about the Norwich tickets.
Yeah,
but we do need them to spend money, and there's going to be times when we're going to have to do something, and I haven't got a for instance, so there's nothing sinister in the background, but there'll be times when we have to make a decision on something where it's going to generate the most revenue but maybe doesn't generate the most goodwill. So I think all we can do when we do something like that is be open, honest and transparent with the fan base. And I think by and large, most Wednesday fans, if we tell them why they're doing something, I think they'll be okay with it.
Yeah, I think we did get a sniff of that, didn't we, Stevie? When the Norwich prices were released, you straight up came out and went, look, we know it's cheaper than the season tickets. And you go, being a Wednesday fan, the season, we both have season tickets ourselves. You go, yeah, fair, I get it. It's a common sense decision to make sure that there's a club to watch with our season ticket. You know what I mean? I completely understand that. Have you seen much uptake for the Norwich game? Has it landed, for example?
Yes, the tickets have been flying out. So I think as of as Sunday, we pulled them off sale on Sunday night, and I think we'd sold about 500 tickets at that time, which was why we pulled them off. So since then, I think we sold 2,500 tickets yesterday, and I believe that sales are continuing to be high today. So we're extremely hopeful that it will be a sellout. We're hoping to get to a point where we can open the lower tier in the Leppings Lane, but obviously that will only happen if we sell out the rest of the tickets. But
wow,
I think we're optimistic. I'm told by the guys within the club that the trajectory in terms of what the sales were yesterday and this morning, to say that we're still effectively 8 days before the match, it's looking like we've got a good chance, I think. And it's like anything, once it starts getting close to a sellout, people that weren't even going to go suddenly want a ticket if they think they can't have one. So
yeah.
So that's what I'm hoping will happen.
I'll tell you what, Stevie, do you want to go into the IFR stuff? And then I kind of want to speak to Kris, the Wednesday fan, a bit about the Wednesday stuff. I want to stop him talking about it. Go and listen to his interview with Rob Statton. Go and listen to his interview with the Sheffield Star. You know what I mean? I want to talk about the Wednesday fan, but let's ask him some more hard hitting ones to start with.
I've got one more. A lot of the sort of the chatter, and I know this might be a difficult one to answer. You've just sort of talked about the money that's coming in January. A lot of the chatter that we've got in our private group chats has been when we said we'll be interviewing you today and we'll be speaking to you. One of the questions that kept coming around was, what's the likelihood of player sales? Is that something that we may need to fall back on? I'm not saying, can you give us assurances? And for those of you that are listening to this rather than watching, those that are listening rather than watching, I can see Kris has just sort of squirmed a little bit because this is not an ideal question to ask. But where are we in terms of players?
I think it's one where we can't lie. If we're looking at a cash flow shortfall, and there's an attractive offer on the table, we're going to have to at least consider it. Now, there'll be lots of variables in that, in terms of, do we think we're actually getting close to what we would be getting if we weren't in this situation, i.e. are the buying club trying to rip us off, for want of a better phrase? And how much do we need the money? How close are we to getting a deal over the line? potentially, if we have got a preferred bidder at that stage, even talking to the new buyer and saying, well, what do you think? Would you rather have the cash or would you rather have the player? So I cannot promise that we won't sell anybody, but I'm hoping that when it comes to January, we won't be making those decisions, because I'm hoping it will be the new owner. I think all we can do is, if we get to the stage where someone makes a really good offer, is we just have to protect the value for the club going forward as best as we can. So, you know, if we sell someone and he ends up being worth 50 million quid, we need to make sure that we've got clauses in there that are going to protect the club going forward and make sure that the club gets a decent return on that.
All of that information and selling players is kind of alien to us, isn't it, Stevie? Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I think we had him sell Lucas João to his mate. That's about it. You know what I mean? So look, you mentioned earlier you've been a Wednesday fan for a number of years. What was your first game? Do you remember?
I do. So it was the end of the 1983-84 season, and the last two games were two home games, I think, were Crystal Palace and Man City. I think it was in that order. I think we won 1-0 against Palace, and then I think the last game, did we draw 0-0, and did we need to win the title, and we didn't, and Chelsea won. So I kind of remember that. I suppose the first game I have a fairly clear memory of was a few months later, in August, which was the first home game of the following season, 84-85, which we beat Forest 3-1. So I have a fairly vivid memory of Verratti scoring that day. So yeah, that's probably a clearer memory than the first two for me.
You're well happy that you've remembered something from 40 years ago, aren't you, Chris? You're absolutely buzzing with that. Go on, Stevie.
What's your most memorable game? The game that stands out for you?
Oof. I think Man U at Wembley was obviously a good one, but that'll be a pretty obvious answer. I suppose one that's from a long time that you really do remember the game if you were there was probably the Di Canio pushing the ref over, and then Lee Briscoe getting a last-minute winner.
What a goal that was! Nobody ever speaks about it. It was an absolute mega goal, and Lee Briscoe scored it.
Yeah, it was. It was a brilliant goal. I think that was one of the. I think that was one of the loudest I've heard Hillsborough after a goal went in, which was, I think, obviously because emotions were running so high because of what had happened beforehand. But yeah, it really did feel like the roof was going to come off the cop when that goal went in. So yeah, but there's been all sorts. I mean, the atmospheres that you got against Kaiserslautern and Chelsea. You know. But you know, the sad thing is that most of the really good memories and the things you remember are from the last century. So we need more of those times. So I mean, we've had some good games, haven't we? But and you know what happened against Peterborough was phenomenal. But you feel that you know, winning a game in a League One playoff final, it's not kind of what we want to be our main memories, is it, as Wednesday fans?
No, that's it, because it's an element of we shouldn't have been 4-0 down to start with. We shouldn't have been in League One to fucking start with. You know what I mean? So you kind of like, it's nice. And what it did, I felt like it stopped a bit of momentum, because at this point, right, you know, we already had people grumbling about the chairman at the time. And so there's an element of like we kind of forgot about it. You know, like, because we went on this big long run, it went on this streak, and then Ipswich came out of nowhere and romped over the top of us and Plymouth to get promoted. And you know, we tended to just go, oh, we forgot about that. We shelved our annoyance when we should have been annoyed as soon as we went down into against Derby that season. Yeah. But it's weird how those sort of things get pushed down the list. Idols growing up outside of Waddle, Sheridan, and Hurst.
Well, I suppose my first sporting hero was probably Seb Coe. To be fair, who wasn't even a footballer, but yeah, I remember watching him a lot. On the
are you into your long distance running, Chris?
No, not at all. Not at all. But yeah, I did used to like watching him. I suppose the first player that was one of my favourites was Gary Bannister, but that was before I really even started watching him, because I think we sold him in the summer of '84. But yeah, you used to know he always used to score the goals. But yeah, people like Sterling and Nielsen obviously were favourites. It's always, I think, Sterling and Hurst because they were from the area. But yeah, it is all the obvious ones, I suppose. But you know, Varady and Chapman, you think back to those days. But yeah, we've not really had that much to shout about the last 20 years. So Barry Bannon, rightly for his loyalty to the club, is probably the hero I suppose everybody's got for the last 20 years. But it feels like we need some new ones now, doesn't it?
I'm gonna name clang, if you'll forgive me, Stevie. My apologies in advance. I am gonna name drop from this morning. This morning I was recording at Talksport Towers, and one of the presenters came up to me and asked me today, genuinely square, dead straight in my face, like no tongue in cheek whatsoever. He goes, "So are you going to build a statue of Bannon outside the ground at some point, or what? Is the money in the budget for that, Chris? Can we get that sorted?"
It will be a bit tight for that. We did actually look if we could do something. We thought if we could do something with at one point with the North Stand seats around that or something similar. But yeah, it's not gonna work out for us as administrators. But I'm sure if it,
can you write it into the contract? Let's say it's John Textor comes in and clause 3.6.
I think him and Palmer. I think Palmer, to be fair. I know that maybe he's not quite reached the playing levels of Bannon, but he's been a consistent performer. I think he's still ahead of Bannon on the player appearances. I think he's
there this season, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, both of them. I mean, I perhaps expected Bannon to overtake him this season, but Palmer's obviously playing every game at the moment. So I think both of them this season can go into the top 5 all-time appearances, which is unbelievable, really. So, and for them both to be in the same team as well, is incredible. So, yeah, both of them have shown unbelievable loyalty, really.
I'll tell you what, then, Stevie. Do you want to ask these last two? One's a bit tasty and one's quite fun.
Yeah. Okay. So, magic one time. Forward thinking, future planning as a Wednesday and as an administrator. Put both hats on. What happens next? So, can you give me your utopian vision for 3 months, 12 months and 5 years?
So 3 months, I hope that the new owner has completed the deal, and that we're no longer running the club, because I think it's fair to say that whilst we've had some easy wins initially, we will not still be popular if we're still running the club in 3 or 4 months' time. So yeah, hopefully somebody comes in and buys it. I really hope that it's somebody that has got really deep pockets, and as well as having deep pockets, has got a strategy and a vision for the club, and someone who can create a bit of an identity. We've seen so many clubs that are a lot smaller than Wednesday overtake us, establish themselves in the Premier League, and it's because they've got a plan and a strategy. So I hope the new owner has a vision, and I would like to think that in the summer we've sorted out everything that we need to with the EFL, and regardless of what division we're in, the spending money on players, getting the fans excited, and get some momentum back into the club. In terms of 5 years, I think what the club needs massively is investment in the infrastructure.
Yeah,
we've not had any Premier League money for 25 years, which obviously hasn't helped in terms of that. But we definitely need money spending on the training ground. We need money spending on our academy so that we've not got an inferior record to United in terms of producing the best players. I do understand. I've spoke to the guys at the club. I think we have got some decent youngsters at the moment, so I think that gap has probably been closed last 4 or 5 years, but we've just not quite got to the point where we're seeing that come through. And the ground, whether it's building a new ground or effectively investing in Hillsborough, I'm open-minded as to how that is. I suppose in an ideal world, if we could get Hillsborough looking like a modern stadium, having the right infrastructure, but we've got to get rid of that Leppings Lane stand, haven't we? That's got to be priority number one for a new owner. But in terms of knocking down stands and rebuilding them, it probably needs to happen with a couple of them, or maybe even 3 of them. So it's going to take time, but
and of course the river's flowing the wrong way as well. You know what I mean? We've got to make a note of that.
Yeah. It might start flowing the other way now. The elephants have gone. I don't know, but
where are they? Have they been melted down? Are they at cash? Are they at Bramall's Gold Room? Money, if you remember that. Like, where are they? Did they just go missing, or did you flog them off to add to the?
We've not flogged them yet, but I think we probably should. I think at the moment they're just sitting in a cupboard in Hillsborough.
I think there's a few people across S6, across Yorkshire, that would quite happily suggest a few ideas on what to do with them. In fact, Stevie, make a note of it. We'll put that out as a thread. It says, Kris Wigfield says, what shall I do with these? And
yeah, well, if anyone, obviously I couldn't do anything unprofessional with them, but if people want to buy them, then I can't control what they do.
Magic. That's a great idea.
I know it sounds ridiculous, and I know I'm drilling down on a ridiculous point, but if they did get chucked in the Don, right? Imagine that, walking over that bridge and seeing that. It'd be quite a poignant little moment, wouldn't it? Like looking down and going, "Yeah, that's right. This is our."
Get somebody to buy them just to chuck them in the Don for a week.
I'd be like, "Here, I will give you 10 English pounds, Kris, and I will just hoy them over that bridge." It's as simple as
put them up for auction.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure there'll be a load of Wendy Dars want them.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that. I think could be a bit of fun that we could do with that.
Yeah.
Last question from me then. You speak a lot with passion. You're clearly a Wednesday fan, season ticket holder, 40 years going to the ground. You've got some incredible memories and some players that people will have probably never heard of and probably forgot as well. To those supporters that are listening to this, to those supporters that you're trying to get on side, from a Sheffield Wednesday point of view, have you got a message to the Wednesday supporters that you can go out there as sort of a rallying cry from you as an administrator and again as a Wednesday fan?
I think it's just a case of keep doing what you're doing. We need you to come through the doors in numbers, and I think maybe the message that's getting lost a bit, we need it for cash. But it's not just about cash. It's about showing potential owners what a club this could be. So our job of selling the club is going to be so much easier if we've got 31,000 there against Norwich, because there are all these people who are serious about buying it are obviously going to be looking at every game now. So I think it's just keep doing what you're doing, but let's show a new buyer what they're getting.
I like that as a message, and we put him right on the spot there, Steve. You did really well there. Fair play, Kris. Sorry. Listen, I'm gonna put a pin in it there. Because I know I wanted to make sure I mentioned this on air. Kris is about to go on holiday, and he's managed to find an hour for us in the day to come and do this for us. I really appreciate your time, Kris. Thanks, man.
No problem. Believe it or not, I am actually on holiday. So I'm currently sat in a hotel room in Tenerife.
Shut up.
So wow. Yeah, my wife's not too impressed with my day today because it's been one meeting or interview after another. So, but yeah, it's just one of those things that happen with the timing. We had a family holiday that we'd had planned for quite a while.
Incredible.
But the thing is, with technology now, it doesn't actually make that much difference.
No.
So I've been having lots of Teams meetings and lots of phone calls, and like I said, I've got a very capable team that's at the ground at the moment.
Bless you. I really appreciate your time, Kris. Listen, stay on the line and we'll say thank you properly. Stay in touch, everybody listening out there. Make sure you press like and subscribe. It's been an absolute pleasure to have Kris on the show. Join us later on in the week where we've got Hello from the Other Side, and you've also got last night's episode to catch up on as well, where we probably slag Kris off, actually. You know what I mean? It happens like that.
We didn't do that. We didn't do that.
You never know how these things pan out. Thanks a lot. See you later.
Every week, live from 8 p.m. It's the Wednesday Week, bringing you football analysis.
They said we'll win the league next season.
Bringing you modern references.
I did a little 1920s fist pump there. Not done that in a while.
If we could do just a 1-to-1, not me because it'd last 7 days apparently, like Craig David.
I should not have said that. I should not have said that.
This shows like you're mental. No, I'm not.
Clip that.
Bringing you terrible impressions.
Wibble, wobble, wobbly, wibble, wobble, Cyber Jordan. When, hey, you got to play a 4-4-2. She. I don't know where these jokes are coming from.
Available on all social medias.
Obviously, this goes out on YouTube and as well as all the other social media out there, podcasts, etc.
The award-winning Wednesday week. Join us.
Put on your pod